Good morning, everybody. Very warm welcome to all of you. I hope you arrived well, you had time to get a coffee. And slowly, we're going to start our second plenary meeting of the Investors Dialogue on Energy. My name is Daniela Sedol. I'm a partner at PwC, and we are the contractors providing expertise for the implementation of Investors Dialogue on Energy on behalf of the European Commission, DG Energy. So I have the pleasure today to moderate the second plenary meeting of the ID, as we call it. And this is our annual event where we bring together members of the 5 working groups composing the Investors Dialogue and a broader range of highly relevant stakeholders as well for energy transition and energy investment in Europe. So here we have together industry representatives, we have financiers, investors, policymakers, as well as NGOs and academia. So to give a brief overview what the Investors Dialogue is, so this is a structured multi-level stakeholder dialogue composed of 5 working groups in the energy value chain. So we have energy production, transmission and distribution, energy storage, heating and cooling, as well as services and prosumers. So the objectives of the Investors Dialogue is to analyze existing investment support schemes, is to identify the barriers to finance for energy projects at the EU level, and also develop recommendations on how to address these barriers. We also identify and analyze new and upgraded financing schemes that are actually important for the market. This is done through issue papers, reports, and discussions. So the Investors Dialogue is actually producing a body of knowledge prepared by the working group members. And also we develop guidance and best practices as well to help streamline financing for the energy transition. So what we do studies. So we have a number of studies that are being published as we progress since 2022, when this initiative started. We have monthly newsletters, annual plenary meetings, such as this one, where we discuss results and topics and have debates. We have webinars and also recurring working group meetings. So in the time we have together, we structure the plenary with, in 3 sessions, in 4 parts actually, in our agenda, which I'll show you now. So we're going to start with the policy session, opened by the keynote speech of Mrs. Kadri Simson. She's the European Commissioner for Energy, present here with us today. And this will be then followed by a debate on what has been achieved in EU energy since we started here, but the many developments that happened on the policy level and investment level as well in energy. So here we have a presence of speakers from DG Energy, the International Energy Agency, from the EBRD, and as well as investors. So when we move then, I'll be presenting the speakers as well, the panelists. We have a break at 10:50. And then at 11:05 approximately, we start with the technical session 1, where we show the work done by the working groups. So the 5 working groups, the outcomes of the discussions. We had several meetings over the year. We produced issue papers and studies. So this is the idea, to present what we achieved there. In the technical session 2, which happens after lunch, lunch is at 12:15. Then we have a technical session 2, where we're going to be talking again on spotlight on innovation value chains, with a focus on investments in hydrogen and batteries, for example, because these are areas highly on the innovation cycle for energy. And then we have another break in the afternoon, followed then by the technical session 3, that happens at 3:15. 3:15, and this will be we're going to be engaging with some EU initiatives, actually, that illustrate use cases in supporting energy investments aimed at local players in the energy market, so challenges and perspectives for cities and energy communities. So each session will allow time for questions, and then both from the audience in the room. We're going to have some audience online. The event is being streamed as well. And I think that's it from me for the introduction now. I'm going to now pass the floor to Commissioner Simson. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm delighted to be here with you today. And this is already the second plenary meeting of the Investors' Dialogue on Energy. And it's another great opportunity for exchange between energy and finance sectors and the European Commission. This is a urgent and timely conversation as we get closer to 2030 and begin implementing energy projects. We have huge investment needs. This decade alone, the EU will need to invest more than 1.2 trillion annually for decarbonizing energy and transport systems. This is nearly 75% more than the previous decade, and it only sets the path to increase even more in the next decade. As we all know, public resources alone are not enough to fill this gap. So we need to use this money smartly to mobilize more private sector investments. And we need to expand EU financing tools to support sustainable investments and de-risk them so that projects are more attractive for investors. And this is why this Investors' Dialogue is so important. You are contributing to designing a new framework for these massive investments, to designing future support instruments for the different segments of the energy value chain. And this is invaluable work, which will help to deliver on the Green Deal. So with all this in mind, there are two key messages I want to give to you today. My first message is that Europe has been successful in defining a credible, comprehensive path towards net zero by 2050. This Commission has delivered on what we had set out to do just over 4 years ago. We have put in place a legal framework for clean, fair, and secure energy system with all the files in the energy field of the Fit for 55 package now agreed by co-legislators. Just before Christmas, there was a provisional agreement on new rules for decarbonized gas and hydrogen package. This will put in place a completely new framework for Europe's hydrogen economy and clear direction of travel for industry and business. Likewise, co-legislators recently agreed on reforming the electricity market designed to lower consumer prices, speed up decarbonization, and increase Europe's energy independence. Same goes for the strengthened directive to decarbonize Europe's building stock, which was agreed just before Christmas. We also have an EU-wide target of at least 42.5% renewable energy in the EU's energy mix by 2030, as well as higher EU reduction target for final energy consumption. All this to say that by completing the Green Deal legislative package, Europe sends a strong signal. We are showing our citizens how committed we are to decarbonize, and our long-term energy security is also at the scope. We are also giving our investors the legal certainty to move ahead with planned projects, and we will now be counting on member states to translate this into actions domestically. My second message today concerns where we put our efforts now. We especially need to speed up renewable projects, increase flexibility and demand response, foster greater cross-border cooperation on energy projects and infrastructure to make our power production cleaner, cheaper, and more secure. With this comes a unique set of challenges, in particular affecting the wind power industry and our energy grids. I'm grateful to the members of this initiative for the insightful information you have already provided on these two issues, and will continue to do so in the upcoming working group meetings. We have taken note and acted. The new action plan for grids was the first step to make our power network an enabler and not a bottleneck of the EU's clean transition. It sets out ways to accommodate a more digitalized, decentralized, and flexible energy system, and support the increased electrification of the economy. On top of this, the Commission also adopted a wind power action plan to defend a strategic sector and source of innovation, but also for us here in Europe, a source of high-quality jobs and growth opportunities. And this action plan supports the development of wind manufacturing in the EU, while also tackling difficulties linked to complex permitting, auction planning and design, also high inflation, and some shortage of skilled workers. So more broadly, this work on wind is part of our drive to strengthen Europe's industrial supply chain, because we cannot fast-track the clean energy transition without also having a strong industrial policy and competitive supply chain. Our proposal for a net zero industry act creates a better business environment and a market access framework to convince manufacturers that it's worth investing here in Europe. And we have selected the technologies which are most significant for our decarbonization in this decade, by 2030. So also battery and electrolyzer technologies, we have covered them also, so I know that these we will discuss later today, but they are also included in this list. And I am glad that negotiations between co-legislators are progressing well also on this file. And finally, it's also worth mentioning two other technologies with great potential for the clean transition, where we are keen for investors to get a sense of the direction of travel. And these are carbon capture and small modular reactors. On carbon capture, we now have a solid building blocks for the industrial carbon management strategy, which I will present next month together with the 2040 climate target plan. And on SMRs, we will soon be launching an industrial alliance to help create a competitive European value chain and support deployment in the next decade. Dear friends, the last time I spoke to you was this time last year at the very first Investors Dialogue Plenary Meeting. And back then, we were 1 year into the invasion of Ukraine and right in the middle of the worst energy crisis. And now, 1 year later, it's true that some uncertainties remain, especially the war in Ukraine and situation in the Middle East. But EU energy policy is on solid ground. We have the framework to help us achieve our decarbonization objectives. Now we are taking the right steps to ensure our industry can grow and compete in this new world. Thank you very much for your attention.